everyone. In this video, we discussed on the topic of our Milky Way Galaxy that includes the solar system with the name describing the galaxy's appearance from Earth, a hazy band of light seen in the night sky, formed from stars that cannot be individually distinguished by the naked eye. It's a bared spiral galaxy with a D25 isophotal diameter estimated at 26.8 1.1 kiloparseconds, but only about 1000 light years thick at the spiral arms. Recent simulations suggest that a dark matter area also containing some visible stars may extend up to a diameter of almost 2 million light years. It has several satellite galaxies and is part of the local group of galaxies which form part of the Virgo supercluster, which is itself a component of the Laniakea supercluster. It is estimated to contain 100 to 400 billion stars and at least that number of planets. The solar system is located at a radius of about 27,000 light years from the galactic center on the inner edge of the onion arm. One of the spiral-shaped concentrations of gas and dust in the innermost 10,000 light years from a bulge and one or more bars that radiate from the bulge. The galactic center is an intense radio source known as Sagittarius A star, a supermassive black hole of 4.100 million solar masses. The oldest stars in the Milky Way are nearly as old as the universe itself and thus probably formed shortly after the dark ages of the Big Bang. Galileo Galilei first resolved the band of light into individual stars with his telescope in 1610. Until the early 1920s, most astronomers thought that the Milky Way contained all the stars in the universe. Following the 1920 great debate between the astronomers Harlow Shapley and Heber-Dust Curtis, observations by Edwin Hubble showed that the Milky Way is just one of many galaxies. Etymology and mythology. In the Babylonian epic poem Enuma Elish, the Milky Way is created from the several tale of the primeval saltwater dragoness Tiamat, set in the sky by Marduk, the Babylonian national god. After slaying her, the story was once thought to have been based on an older Sumerian version in which Tiamat is instead slain by Enlil of Nippur, but is now thought to be purely an invention of Babylonian propagandists with the intention to show Marduk as superior to the Sumerian deities. In Greek mythology, Zeus places his son born by a mortal woman, the infant Heracles, on Hera's breast while she is asleep, so the baby will drink her divine milk and become immortal. Hera wakes up while breastfeeding and then realizes she is nursing an unknown baby. She pushes the baby away. Some of her milk spills and it produces the band of light known as the Milky Way. In another Greek story, the abandoned Heracles is given by Athena to Hera for feeding, but Heracles' forcefulness causes Hera to rip him for her breast in pain. Lee's Dawn, literally the Court of Dawn, is the traditional Wales name for the constellation Cassiopeia. At least 3 of Dawn's children also have astronomical associations. Caer Gwydion, the fortress of Gwydion, is the traditional Wales name for the Milky Way, and Caer Arianrhod, the fortress of Arianrhod, being the constellation of Corona Borealis. Milky Way is derived from its appearance as a demon-resolved milky glowing band arching across the night sky. The term is a translation of the classical Latin Via Lactea, in turn derived from the Hellenistic Greek Yalaiai, short for Yalaiai Kukos Galaxis Kyoklos, meaning milky circle. The ancient Greek Galaxias, from root milk plus forming adjective yak, is also the root of galaxy, the name for our and literal such collection of stars. The Milky Way or milk circle was just one of 11 circles the Greeks identified in the sky, others being the zodiac, the meridian, the horizon, the equator, the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle, and two colure circles passing through both poles. Appearance: the Milky Way is visible as a hazy band of white light, some 30-degree wide, arching the night sky. Although all the individual naked eye stars in the entire sky are part of the Milky Way Galaxy, the term Milky Way is limited to this band of light. The light originates from the accumulation of unresolved stars and other material located in the direction of the galactic plane. Brighter regions around the band appear as soft visual patches known as star clouds. The most conspicuous of this is the large Sagittarius star cloud, a portion of the central within the band, such as the Great Rift and the Coal Sack, are areas where interstellar dust blocks light from distant stars of the southern hemisphere, including the Inca and Australian aborigines, identified these regions as dark cloud constellations. The area of the sky that the Milky Way obscures is called the zone of avoidance. The Milky Way has a relatively low surface brightness. Its visibility can be greatly reduced by background light, such as light pollution or moonlight. The sky needs to be darker than about 20.2 magnitude per square arc second in order for the Milky Way to be visible. It should be visible if the limiting magnitude is approximately plus 5.1 or better and shows a great deal of detail at plus 6.1. This makes the Milky Way difficult to see from brightly lit urban or suburban areas, but very prominent when viewed from rural areas when the moon is below the horizon. Maps of artificial night sky brightness show that more than one-third of Earth's population cannot see the Milky Way from their homes due to light pollution. As viewed from Earth, the visual region of the Milky Way's galactic plane occupies an area of the sky that includes 30 constellations. The galactic center lies in the direction of Sagittarius, where the Milky Way is brightest. From Sagittarius, the hazy band of white light appears to pass around to the galactic anticenter in Auriga. The band then continues the rest of the way around the sky, back to Sagittarius, dividing the sky into two roughly equal hemispheres. The galactic plane is inclined by about 60 degrees to the elliptic, the plane of Earth's orbit, relative to the celestial equator. It passes as far north as the constellation of Cassiopeia and as far south as the constellation of Crux, indicating the high inclination of Earth's equatorial plane and the plane of the relative to the galactic plane. The North Galactic Pole is situated at right ascension 12 hours 49 minutes, declination plus 27.4 degree near Beta Comae Berenice, and the South Galactic Pole is near Alpha Sculptoris. Because of this high inclination, depending on the time of night and year, the Milky Way arch may appear relatively low or relatively high in the sky. For observers from latitudes approximately 65 degree north to 65 degree south, the Milky Way passes directly overhead twice a day. Astronomical history. Ancient naked eye observations. In Meteorologica, Aristotle 384 to 322 BC states that the Greek philosophers Anaxagoras 500 to 428 BC and Democritus 460 to 370 BC proposed that the Milky Way is the glow of stars not directly visible due to Earth's shadow, while other stars receive their light from the sun but have their glow obscured by solar rays. Aristotle himself believed part of the Earth's upper atmosphere along with the stars, and that it was a byproduct of stars burning that did not dissipate because of its outermost location in the atmosphere, composing its great circle. The milky appearance of the Milky Way Galaxy is due to the refraction of the Earth's atmosphere. The Neoplatonist philosopher Olympidorus the Younger criticized this view, arguing that if the Milky Way were sublunary, it should appear different at different times and places on Earth. and that it should have parallax, which it does not. In his view, the Milky Way is celestial. This idea would be influential later in the Muslim world. The Persian astronomer Al-Biruni proposed that the Milky Way is a collection of countless fragments of the nature of nebulous stars. The Andalusian astronomer Avempas proposed that the Milky Way was made up of many stars but appeared to be a continuous image in the Earth's atmosphere, citing his observation of a conjunction of Jupiter and Mars in 1106 or 1107 as evidence. The Persian astronomer Nasir al-Din al-Tusi in his Tadkira wrote, "The Milky Way, the galaxy is made up of a very large number of small, tightly clustered stars, which, on account of their concentration and smallness, seem to be cloudy patches. Because of this, it was likened to milk in color." Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah proposed that the Milky Way is a myriad of tiny stars packed together in the sphere of the fixed stars. Telescopic observations. Proof of the Milky Way consisting of many stars came in 1610 when Galileo Galilei used a telescope to study the Milky Way and discovered that it is composed of a huge number of faint stars. Galileo also concluded that the appearance of the Milky Way was due to refraction of the Earth's atmosphere. In a treatise in 1755, Immanuel Kant, drawing an earlier work by Thomas Wright, speculated that the Milky Way might be a rotating body of a huge number of stars held together by gravitational forces akin to the solar system but on much larger scales. The resulting disk of stars would be seen as a band on the sky from our perspective inside the disk. Wright and Kant also conjectured that some of the nebulae visible in the night sky might be separate galaxies themselves, similar to our own. Kant referred to both the Milky Way and the extragalactic nebulae as island universes, a term still current up to the 1930s. The first attempt to describe the shape of the Milky Way and the position of the Sun within it was carried out by William Herschel in 1785 by carefully counting the number of stars in different regions of the visible sky. He produced a diagram of the shape of the Milky Way with the solar system close to the center. In 1845, Lord Rosse constructed a new telescope and was able to distinguish between elliptical and spiral shaped nebula. He also managed to make out individual point sources in some of these nebula, lending credence to Kant's earlier conjecture. In 1904, studying the proper motions of stars, Jacobus Kapteyn reported that they were not random, as it was believed in that time stars could be divided into two streams, moving in nearly opposite directions. It was later realized that Kapteyn's data had been the first evidence of the rotation of our galaxy, which ultimately led to the finding of galactic rotation by Bertil Lindblad and Jan Oort. In 1917, Heberdos Curtis had observed the nova S Andromedae within the Great Andromeda Nebula, Messier Object 31. Searching the photographic record, he found 11 more nova. Curtis noticed that these nova were on average 10 magnitudes fainter than those that occurred within the Milky Way. As a result, he was able to come up with a distance estimate of 1,50,000 parsecs. He became a proponent of the Island universes hypothesis, which held that the spiral nebula were independent galaxies. In 1920, the great debate took place between Harlow Shapley and Heber Curtis concerning the nature of the Milky Way spiral nebula and the dimension of the universe. To support his claim that the Great Andromeda Nebula is an external galaxy, Curtis noted the appearance of dark lanes resembling the dust clouds in the Milky Way, as well as the significant Doppler shift. The controversy was conclusively settled by Edwin Hubble in the early 1920s using the Mount Wilson Observatory 2.5 meter Hooker telescope. With the light gathering power of this new telescope, he was able to produce astronomical photographs that resolved the outer parts of some spiral nebula as collections of individual stars. He was also able to identify some Cepheid variables that he could use as a benchmark to estimate the distance to the nebula. He found that the Andromeda Nebula is 2,75,000 parsecs from the Sun, far too distant to be part of the Milky Way. Satellite observations. The ESA spacecraft Gaia provides distance estimated by determining the parallax of a billion stars and is mapping the Milky Way with four planned releases of maps 2018, 2021 and 2024. Data from Gaia has been described as transformational. It has been estimated that Gaia has expanded the number of observations of stars from about 2 million stars as of the 1990s to 2 billion. Measurable volume of space by a factor of 100 in radius and a factor of 1000 in precision.